Hello, Celina community. We have a special Bulldog Talk for you today, where we're going to hear from 3 of our fall coaches: Ryan Jenkins, soccer; Brennen Bader, football; and Jason Andrew, cross country. Should be a great podcast. We hope you enjoy it. All right, today we have an episode of Bulldog Talk for the Celina community, and today we have Jason Andrew, Brennen Bader, and Ryan Jenkins. So, guys, let's go ahead and get right to it. Tell us about yourselves.
All right, so I'm Jason Andrew. I'm the head cross-country coach here at the high school, and I teach physics and AP Bio and a little bit of physical science.
Yeah, I'm Brennen Bader, head football coach. I teach American history and a senior careers / leadership class.
I'm Ryan Jenkins. I teach high school math here. I'm the boys varsity soccer coach. This is my 18th year teaching.
Mr. Bader, you're starting a new course, Senior Leadership. Can you give us just a little bit of insight on that, just for the school community?
Yeah, it's just Mrs. Wendy Gavis came talk to me and at the end of last year and said we're thinking about incorporating a course for some upcoming seniors that just aren't quite sure what they want to do after high school. It's a class of 22 students. Some are, want to pursue college after school. Some just want to go in the workforce. It's just a lot of students that are kind of in between, not sure exactly what they want to do. So we just work at navigating through some job shadowing experiences through the community, get them out and about at the end of the day to get that job experience. And then with that, we tie in some leadership skills with it. Reading a book called Atomic Habits right now that just kind of goes over the importance of establishing good habits on a daily basis. So yeah, it's kind of a trial and error this first year, but we're hoping to kind of expand and elaborate in future years.
Yeah, sounds like a great opportunity for our students. Another way to get them ready for life after high school, which is, a big mission of our district. We'll hear a little bit more about, your guys' programs, but let's learn a little bit more about you guys as individuals here. So run us through kind of your playing careers, your athletic careers, and your coaching. Lead us up to where you are today.
So in high school, I played a little bit of baseball through middle school. I played some basketball till I was the end of my junior year. And then I ran cross country for all 4 years. That's probably where I excelled, was in cross country and running. I would say that even in cross country, I was a good runner. I wasn't a great runner. I was by no means a great athlete. So I didn't play in college, but when I got out of college, I actually took up running again, and then started to get into some more distance running and running like triathlons and some marathons. And then that's really where I started to develop a passion to coach distance running as well. So, and I've been coaching and been involved with athletics in some form or way over the last 25 years.
Yeah, I graduated from Celina in 2003, played football and ran track. Throughout my career, if you called me average, that was a compliment as an athlete. Went to college, went to Ohio State, graduated there. Came back and then started coaching right away under Jared Rolfus. I think this is my 14th year back in Celina, my 7th year as a head football coach. But I've been coaching either football or track for 14, maybe 15 years.
I played soccer and basketball in high school. And I went to Celina as well as these guys. Graduated 2002. Went to the University of Findlay. Did play a year of soccer there. Was able to find a teaching job right away when I graduated. Came back to Celina, and I started working with this soccer program as a varsity assistant. Did that for 3 years, and then I've been the head varsity coach for the last 15 years. I've also coached some middle school basketball and some boys tennis as well.
All right, you guys mentioned in our opening that you guys teach and coach. Sounds like you guys have a lot of different experiences, whether it's as a player, whether it was playing in college, or even continuing to get back into some activities after college and so forth. So a couple of you guys mentioned some previous experiences. Brennen, you mentioned a coach that you came back and coached under, Coach Rolfus. But I'd like to give our viewers a little bit on why you coach. Why do you, what's your reason? What's your why for coaching and working with our young people?
I guess for me, just coaching in general, I really enjoy it. The reason I coach is a lot of why I teach too. I like to see kids grow and develop, and I like to be a part of that process. I feel like we all have gifts, special gifts, and I think like God's blessed me with a gift to be able to help kids learn and to teach kids and to motivate kids. And so I want to use those gifts and and pass that good on to our students. But as far as cross country goes, as far as coaching that individual sport, there's two things that motivated me. One is my past coach. He talked about Coach Rolfus. For me, it was Coach Otten. And he kind of built the cross country program here. He's built a legacy, and being able to coach under him, especially when he went through his second round of cancer and eventually passed away, it was honoring for me to be able to continue that legacy. And I wanted to see his program continue to succeed. So that was a big motivator for me, as well as the opportunity to be able to coach my kids as well. And my daughter just graduated, or she's going to graduate this year. So to be able to coach her over the past 3.5, 4 years, and have a younger daughter coming through, it's a privilege for me to be able to coach them, as well as all the other kids that we get that come through our program.
Okay.
Yeah, as Jason said, teaching and coaching go hand in hand. I knew from a pretty young age that I wanted to teach and coach and pursue that career, that avenue anyway. So my why is just, I think sports provide a good platform to instill life skills into kids. I had some coaches that I really looked up to going through high school, and it's just a way to connect with kids even more. So it's just, and the competitive nature, of course, of loving sports, loving football. I grew up loving the sport, loved track too. So I coached also under Coach Otten, and one of the most influential leaders I've ever been around in people, and learned a lot from him, especially my early years back in Celina. So it's that competitive itch, that competitive fire, but also just trying to provide our youth an opportunity to be good leaders one day.
A lot of the same reasons these guys said. It's great to see the kids grow when they come as a freshman to when they leave as a senior. It's great to be a part of that process. Obviously, I love the game of soccer, so that's why I choose to coach soccer. But it's also a compliment. I've done it long enough when I run into my former players that talk of how much fun they had while they were here, and how they wish they could come back. And it's just, those are the type of relationships and things that you build through your program, and it's just fun to see those things.
Yeah, kind of looking at, no matter what kind of level you coach, you have a different kind of relationship or a different role in that kid's life, whether it was being a good role model for them, or maybe leading to a possibility of a lifelong friendship where they come back and talk to you, and maybe they're coaching and come back and share some war stories with you. So definitely a neat thing about this level with you guys being varsity coaches. Let's turn to your programs now and talk a little bit about this past season. We had some instances where we have appearances in the state tournaments, and also winning some conference or shares of conference titles. Can you guys talk a little bit about your seasons as a whole and some highlights from them?
As far as cross country goes, our boys kind of got most of the attention, but our girls had a pretty good season too. And one of the biggest things that people don't notice with the girls is just the adversity that they had to overcome this year with a lot of injuries and so forth. And we hear a lot about football injuries and soccer injuries, but what's kind of you think about a high school athlete in cross country, what's an injury they go through? A lot of leg issues, obviously, but just that constant pounding on the roads. We try to mix up the surfaces that we run on so they're not always taking that beating all the time, but we've had some stress fractures this year in our feet, our ankles, a lot of shin splints. And those are things that we're trying to figure out, how to avoid in the future. So that will affect our training for next year as well. But our girls were able to overcome a lot of that. As far as our boys season goes, obviously they're the ones that got a lot of attention this year, and rightly so. I'd say some of our highlights is the fact that they finished second in the Western Buckeye League. But obviously the big accomplishment this year was they were the first boys team in cross country in school history to qualify for state. So that was that was a big one for us.
This year was a real special year for us. Really, the last 2 years have been, we've gone in the direction we want to go and expect to go. Last year, we feel like our seniors that really projected this program on a much positive trajectory, and our challenge to the guys coming into this year was how do we build on that. And so we're really proud of the guys this year, the seniors especially, that did that. They took that step. We don't talk a ton about the end results. We talk more about the day-to-day, what you're doing on a consistent basis, and the end result will be a byproduct of everything you put into it, how you do things. Are you doing things the right way? Can you be held at a high standard at all times? And we're certainly not perfect in that yet, but I think we did a good enough job to give us a season that was pretty historic in Celina history. We were the 8th team. It was the 8th team to win a league championship, and only the 4th team to win a regional championship and have an appearance in the Final Four. So certainly those are kind of the highlights of the year in terms of their accomplishments on the field. But for me, it's more about their daily grind and their process. That's what I was most proud about, and the fact that these kids, when they have their own kids and when they have grandkids, they're going to be able to tell a heck of a story one day about what they were able to accomplish on the field. So I think that's the most gratifying part of the 2023 season. And it was all our players, but highlighted certainly by our seniors.
Right, it's almost like if they can handle that day-to-day grind, or handle hard, or being able to handle being bored. Boring, such a boring word, but being able to just deal with that mundane, hey, it's just every day, or that part of the process is a great thing for our kids to kind of learn a lot about today.
Yeah.
So.
On the soccer side, the group of seniors we have, we're really set on trying to set some goals that would beat some of the records that are set for our school. So we had a conversation in August, and they wanted to know what's the most number of goals that were scored, how many goals have been given up, all team-oriented goals. And we sat down and we set those goals. And at the end of the year, we ended up being 18-2. We had 16 regular season wins, which was a school record. In tournament, we finished district runner-up. But then the other goals we did set, we scored 109 goals this year, which is the most that any Celina soccer team has scored. And we only gave up 6 goals, which is the fewest amount that any team has scored. And that goal, as being a defensive guy, it's very amazing that they were able to do that. The record was 10. It was kind of funny along those lines. Coach White, my varsity assistant coach, was on the team that had that goal. So there was a little bit of banter back and forth between the guys and Coach White about that goal, and it was kind of fun for that to go on throughout this whole season.
And what a great conversation it has to be to talk with your kids about going through that whole goal process where you're, hey, here's where we want to go, here's what we want to do, and then, hey, here's where we are, here's where we ended up, and having that reflective conversation. That sounds like a real positive.
Right, and
for your
there was
program.
a lot of reminders throughout the season of the goals they set, and at times there would be some grumblings. It's like, all right, guys, you want to get there, this is what we got to do. And they bought in, and we were able to accomplish a lot of those goals.
You guys talked about some end results, but can you guys kind of share, at least to you, a memorable moment? That could be whether it's on field, off the field, that you had this season.
For me, I'd say it was the path to get to the state cross country meet. Deep down, I knew we had a chance. I knew we were talented enough. I knew we had the chemistry to do it. We got to our district meet, and we were battling some injuries, like I mentioned before, and we squeaked in. I mean, we squeaked into the regional. We got the last spot. And that's all you got to do, like these guys would say. You just survive and advance, right? Mm-hmm. Survive and advance. Well, we survived. And we made it to the regional, and we got a little healthy in that week. And we probably ran our best race of the year at the regional. And I knew we still had a small chance to get in there. And it just worked out. We ran our best race of the year. We got the last spot to get in again, and we made it. And my most memorable moment was probably at the regional meet. We get live results on the phone, so I'm carrying my cell phone with me, and I'm watching these live results, and I'm watching our kids go through, and I knew it was going to be tight. It was going to be really close. And we're getting down where the last few kids are coming in, and the scores are set, and we're just flipping back and forth between third place, fourth place, fourth place, fifth place, fourth place, fifth place, fourth place. all of a sudden we stop moving at fourth, and the top four go. And when it just stopped fluctuating, I kind of lost it. I was off by myself in the middle of the field, and I kind of broke down. I'm like, we made it. All that hard work that these kids put in all summer long has paid off. And they're getting that first trip in school history to the state cross-country meet. And to me, that was the most memorable moment. It was neat. It was awesome.
Yeah. Pretty powerful when kids can get to that point and can realize a goal and get there.
And then their excitement after that, when they found out, I mean, they were jumping and hugging me and hugging each other. It was a special moment. So
that's great. Great moment for you guys to get together and celebrate together that instant success.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, it was a kind of a collection of a few moments that, I think starting the season, we lost bad at Versailles. It got beat 26-0. And then you got to turn around the very next week and you play your rival at home in a huge game. And we were able to win that game pretty handily. And I think that game, that moment is what kind of catapulted us into the right direction. We got 8 wins in a row. Our last home game, last regular season home game, we beat Defiance and were able to claim at least a share of the league title that night. I think that was a very memorable moment. Our seniors really wanted that. All our players wanted that, but our seniors have talked about that. It's been since 1995 since that's been done. So seeing the jubilation on their faces and excitement was really neat to see. And then you turn around a week later and you got to go play at Walpock, and we get beat pretty bad, 31-3 or whatever it is. And you're like, okay, well, now what? And our kids were so resilient. I think that was a theme of this team really throughout their careers, is they've overcame a lot of adversity early on, maybe in times when it would have been easy to give up. They fought through it, and then they were able to rattle off 4 more wins. So the whole playoff experience was memorable. I would say, though, when we beat Baden in the regional final, we had a pick 6 that kind of sealed it at the end of the game to win against a team that's a pretty much a powerhouse in Division III. They're always in the conversation of making a state run, state semifinalist run or whatever. So to win the regional when it was really unexpected was probably one of the most memorable moments, going back to that locker room. And certainly the bus ride home, the escort into town was pretty neat. That the police department, fire department, whoever put that on, just seeing the kids' faces kind of in shock, that was really neat to see and reflect on. So that was probably the highlight of the year, that night coming back into Celina.
What do you say to your kids to navigate that high and that low? You come off a big win, and then you go and you guys kind of have a tough one. And what do you say to those kids that are resilient to bounce back?
That's just kind of our mantra that we go by, whether it's in January or June or during the season. It's just it doesn't matter, get better is kind of our mantra. So whether you beat St. Mary's, great, who cares? You got to find a way to get better the next day, the next week. Same thing when coming off a loss or a bad workout or a bad practice. How are you going to respond the next day, the next rep, whatever it may be? So that's just something we try to live by and instill in our players. So I wasn't shocked by the results by coming back the next week and getting that done, because it's something we've been trying to ingrain for the last 7 years really. And I was proud to see our players kind of come through and develop that mentality, see that pay off finally this year.
On the soccer side, this year we shared the WBL with St. Mary's and Shawnee, and part of the reason why we shared it was we gave up 2 goals to Shawnee in the last 20 minutes, and they knocked us off at their place. And just the seniors' disappointment that night and just frustration. It was a real quiet bus ride home. It was tough, but then we had a chance. We played Shawnee in tournament, and it was our chance to take revenge on that loss. And we were able to beat them 1-0. And to see the seniors' reaction, even the whole team's reaction that night, the complete opposite of what it was when we went up there and lost. And that was the first time that we were able to beat Shawnee since 2016. So it was a big accomplishment for these guys. They hadn't been able to do it. Had been talking about it. Shawnee kind of has set the standard for the last few years, and we've been striving to get there, and we were able to beat them in tournament. And it was fun to watch the guys, just to remember how they felt that night when they got beat, and it was a tough loss to see them beat the Melita, and just to see the joy and to be there with them and enjoy it with them, and it was just good to see.
Thanks for sharing those moments, guys. I'd like to hear a little bit more about kind of your programs and what are some key aspects to them, and kind of what makes them special, whether it's something with culture, or handling adversity, dealing with goals. Can you share a little bit about that?
I think culture is a good word that you just used there. For us in cross country, we really preach family a lot, because we really are a family. I think our kids would say the same thing. During the season and even outside of the season, they do so much together. I mean, you would think, I practice with these guys, for 2 hours after school, or these girls. I just want to go home and, do my thing. But when practice is over, on Fridays, they get together and they do team dinners. And they spend all day together on Saturdays at meets together, and the first thing they're planning when they get back on the bus is, hey, whose house we going to tonight after we get home from the meet? They spend so much time together, and it really is a family, and they rely on each other. They talk to each other. When they're going through tough times, they help each other out. So it goes beyond cross country. I mean, it's a friendship, it's a bond that they have with one another, and you even see it too with even their families coming together at cross country meets. Parents from different athletes talking with each other. They meet up with each other. I think a lot of them meet up after meets and eat out together. So it really is that family atmosphere, and that's a culture that you build. And then I think the other big aspect for us is trust. And it's not so much that they have to trust each other, which they do, but they have to trust me. I ask them to do hard things. When you train for cross country, I'm pushing you, and I'm pushing you to your limits in a lot of cases. I'm asking you to run fast, and then I'm asking you to run faster for a longer period of time. And we'll do a track workout, and I'll say, okay, we're doing another one. We're doing another one. And they have to trust me that I know what that limit is. And in order for me to earn their trust, they've got to be able to see improvement. And so I've got to be able to, sometimes statistically and using the numbers, show them, look, this is where you were, this is where you're at now. And they've got to know that when I tell them this is our workout for the day, they've got to be able to trust me and be willing to push themselves to do that. So there's a certain level of, like I said, trust in our program, and I have to earn that trust from them. And they've got to be able to see results as well, that what we're doing is working. And they've got to, I always tell them, they got to trust the training. You put the work in, and if you put that work in, you got to trust your training. It's going to get you through the race. So that's really kind of the culture and kind of our mantra in cross country.
Yeah, it's the family culture. I think there's 100 different ways you can present as a head coach all that information. Culture, family, you can preach at. You can set your standards where you want them. As a leader, you're supposed to set standards, all right, and then uphold those standards with your players. But you also have to have the players that are willing to be held accountable to those standards that you set. So I think there's a lot that goes into. So it goes back for us the day-by-day approach. And day one, when kids come into our program, we talk about no BCDs. So first thing they can do and can control is no negativity, whether that's bad body language or just blaming, complaining, or defending is what that stands for. In other words, making excuses. So day one, that's what we try to preach to our young guys, whether it's our 7th graders coming into the program or our freshmen coming up to the high school ranks. And secondly, with that, it's how you respond to adversity. There's going to be adversity. It's inevitable, whether it's in life or sports. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So just rather than trying to run from it, try to embrace it and use it as a tool instead of looking at it as a negative thing. And then we talk about the importance of we over me. We don't talk really about any individual statistics. It's all about we, what can we do to accomplish. It's that family-oriented thing. For instance, we had a kid, Carter Allstetter, that is a junior, never played offensive line in his life. He had to play offensive tackle by default, and did a great job. So just that unselfishness of being willing to do that is a we over me mentality. So for us, that's really where it's at, and that's all embedded in our culture. But again, it takes kids willing to do it. And when you blend that with a talented group, I mean, if you're looking across the board, the success in soccer and football, cross country, it takes talent as well. And I think there's a crop of talented kids that are going through right now. So when you mix culture with talent, you can have these memorable seasons and these memorable runs. And I think that's what we're experiencing here in 2023.
Yeah, same thing like these guys have said with culture. Obviously with soccer, we instill them working hard. We really lean towards our older guys to help us with that. They've been around the program. They know what we expect, and they really help instill that hard work and working together. I think it's better coming from them almost sometimes than the coach, because it's their peers, and they really help with that. It's also just the family aspect as well. When you play a sport, you're with your teammates a lot, and sometimes from a coaching perspective, it can be a lot, and you're also away from your own families, and they kind of become a part of your family. So like we try to have them over, and we have meals, and it just kind of, my own family kind of turns in. They're a part of the soccer family. My son, who is in 5th grade, is out there with those guys, and I always tell my guys that I'm only going to bring him out there because I know that we have good kids. And if we didn't have that in our program, I wouldn't want him around. And that kind of leads me into being a good role model. So just even though you're in high school, you don't know the little eyes and little ears that you have on you all the time. And you have to set a good example for those little guys that you might not even know that you're having an effect on. So.
You guys had great fall seasons. You have great talent, great cultures, great families, great things going on here at Celina, like a lot of the other things that we have going on, especially with academics and other things happening. How do you guys keep this going? And then if you guys want to share a little bit about your off-season kind of programming and what you're doing now. So
I'd say, these are some great coaches over here to my left, and I'm sure they're doing the same thing, but I think every good coach is going to evaluate your season. You're going to look at your strengths, you're going to look at your weaknesses, and that's what I'm doing right now. I spent a lot of my off season working on that. And we take our strengths and we try to build on those. We try to take those positive elements that were successful, and we want to keep using those. But at the same time, I think it's equally as important, if not more important, to identify the weaknesses, things that we need to do better at, and then we got to find ways to improve those weaknesses. And same thing that we do in the classroom when we evaluate our classes and our students. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Let's keep doing what's working, and then let's fix maybe or tweak what's not. So that's what we're doing right now with the training. I'm trying to find ways. I mentioned earlier some of the injuries that a lot of our girls dealt with. So we're going to tweak our training to hopefully avoid some of that. We're going to work on some strength training. And a lot of that has to be done during the summer. So to improve our program and to continue to move forward, it does require some commitment in the summertime. And we're going to have to be out running. If we want to repeat what we did last year, we're going to have to put some miles in this summer. Our kids know that. It's just a matter, are they going to meet the demand that we're going to ask of them? I think middle school is a big part of that too. We got to have good middle school programs. I've got a fantastic middle school cross country coach in Coach Dameron, and she's doing good things with our middle school kids, getting them ready for high school. So we got to continue to build our middle school programs. And then I think the biggest thing is success breeds success. And once you've had that successful season, and I'm sure we're going to see it in football and soccer as well, it lights a fire under kids. And maybe kids who aren't doing a fall sport, they're going to see that success and they're going to be like, man, I want to be a part of that. And it just lights a fire under people to continue to work hard, especially the kids who experienced it. They know what it takes to get there, and they're gonna repeat that effort to get back there again. And that's why I say success breeds success. And that's the hardest part, is getting that success. And now that we're there, we want to sustain it. And that's kind of the plan. Those are the things that we need to do to get back again next year.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll echo that. We got two great coaches on either side of me that I don't think I have to say anything, because basically what he said is the absolute truth. First of all, you want to sustain the success that you had and use that as momentum into the next year. I guess the one thing we try to say is just never be comfortable, never feel comfortable. And for the seniors that have gone through and are done now, they can go back, sit back, and reflect on all the accomplishments they had, and they can do that for the rest of their lives. But for everybody else, underclassmen, they're coming back. So now what? And we just want to build and sustain that success, and have an uncomfortable feeling that we got to get better. How are we going to get better? And as Coach said, first thing you do is you go back, you evaluate, whether it's you're watching film, you pick out what went well, what were the controllable factors or variables that you did a good job, so you want to continue those. Where were you weak at? Because there's always some weaknesses, so you try to go back and figure out, okay, how can we even improve even further? So I think it starts there. And then absolutely in the middle school, that's the foundation for really every program is, how do we get kids out? And I think winning, that definitely helps with that. When you win, hopefully that sparks some interest in the community, some younger kids, and they want to play, so you get more numbers. That's always a factor as well. But develop them in middle school and coming up the ranks. Again, going back to that day-by-day mentality of we got to get better, don't be comfortable. And let's use what happened this past year as an example of why we had success. And it's because we had a lot of kids that chose to do the right thing, come in, put the extra time, do what's expected, but even do more. And that's showing up every day with a good attitude, giving their best effort, being a great teammate. And that will be the challenge moving forward in 2024.
At the end of the season, we meet with all the underclassmen, have just an individual meeting, and that's where we kind of talk about, all right, what did we do well? What are we going to do to keep this going? And we kind of talked about the mentality of just reloading next year and not rebuilding. And when you have that success, they get to see it, they get to feel it. For us, we unfortunately lost the district title game, and we talked to those guys, we got to get back here, and that's got to be our goal to be on the winning side of this. And that just kind of helps drive the program. Now, as far as off-season workouts, we do kind of take some time off. Like, we wait till after January to get back in the gym and then get in the weight room a little bit. And then when the spring rolls around, get outside and play a little bit. So not nearly as intense, but still getting some touches on the ball, but just constantly working. But we also have a lot of guys that play other sports. So it's one of those, when they're doing their other sports, we as coaches, we want to see them be successful in everything. Because just like Coach Andrew said, you have that success, and it just kind of just keeps building. So it doesn't necessarily just stay in your program. It can jump to the spring sports. So we like seeing our guys do a lot of different sports and be successful in everything they do.
Yeah, success definitely breeds success. So it's going to be great watching and seeing our kids experience more tournament runs and more success on the field, because the hard work you guys and the kids are putting in. So I think that's great. Let's switch gears here, and let's change over to 5 quick questions. Just 5 questions, no explanation, and we'll go right through these. So, favorite holiday?
It's Christmas, without a doubt.
Thanksgiving.
I'm going to go unofficial holiday, Reds opening day.
What's one thing you want for Christmas?
Oh man, stay healthy.
Just see joy on kids' face, opening presents.
I'm going to say a little bit of snow.
A little bit of snow. Favorite coaching quote?
I don't know who said it, but it's, today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't.
I think just doesn't matter, get better has always stuck with me. It's a Brian Kite quote. He's just a leadership consultant.
And I like you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
Super Bowl prediction. Who's going to be there? Who's going to win it?
I lost interest after my Bengals went down the tubes, but the Bengals. No, it's probably going to be the Eagles. That'd be my pick.
I'm second the Eagles. Jason Kelsey, I love him.
I'm going to go 49ers.
Okay, all right. If you weren't a teacher, what would you be in life?
I'd probably be, since I started teaching physics, I'd probably be an engineer, either mechanical engineer or a civil engineer.
Psychology, psychologist or psychology.
I'd probably still be working with numbers and go into accounting.
So 5 quick questions, 5 quick answers. Let's end our appearance here on the podcast here by giving a Bulldog bark, a chance for you to give a shout out to someone in the community, a group of people, or just something you want to say to the community at large. Go ahead.
I'm going to give 2 shout outs. First, a shout out to my family because they're the ones that have to deal with me during my coaching season. So shout out to my wife and my kids. And then I want to shout out to the entire staff and students. You all have a great exam week. So good luck on your exams and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same for me. Family, my wife and kids, going through a season, not home much, and mentally you're not always where you should be. You're thinking about what you need to do. And then secondly, for me, just this year with the community, the support in the community, and specifically the fire department, police department, sheriffs or whatever that kind of put on that escort for our team just because our players thought so much of that, and it was real special to our guys.
I'll give out a shout out to my family like these guys. It's tough during the season. You're away from your family a lot to do what you have to do. Then I want to give a shout out to my assistant coaches, Kyle White, Andy Darris, Ian Darris. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, and the success we had this year is just as much for them as it was for me. I thank them for that.
Well, thanks, guys, for appearing on the Bulldog podcast. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Brennen. Thanks, Ryan. And the man behind the camera, thank you for everything that you're doing for us. And we want to wish everyone a happy holiday season.